wanted to take just a couple minutes to talk to you about whey protein and what my criteria is for picking a good one, because I get a lot of questions about this. There's so many different brands and they're hugely variable in price, in ingredients, in all sorts of things. So I'll let you know what I look for. And I've got my humongous barrel of it right here. This is one of my favorite brands. It's the Natural Factors Whey Factors, and it's unflavored. They do make like 3 or 4 flavors that you can get, but here's the reasons why I like this one. And I like a handful of others as well. First of all, there's just not a lot of extra junk in it. Really, it's just whey and some enzymes and some probiotics that they've added to this one. If you see a long list of ingredients on yours that has everything from a fat blend to extra sugars to artificial sweeteners to chemical type flavorings to colorings to all that sort of stuff, usually I'll step back and just think, this sort of stuff is kind of tricky. For example, one of the most popular ones that I see is the muscle milk, and I'm not trying to pick on that one, but their fat blend, the first fat in the fat blend, is sunflower oil. As we've discussed before, sunflower oil is a high omega-6 oil, and while it's been generally told to us as a healthy fat, it's not. It competes with omega-3. So omega-6s in small amounts are necessary in our diet for our bodies, but in large amounts are no good because they compete with omega-3s and promote more inflammation instead of less, which is what omega-3s are trying to do. So that's just one example of things that can kind of go haywire with all these extra ingredients. So that's number one. Number two, what I'm looking for is that it's non-denatured, undenatured, processed at a low temperature in order to not denature, some words like that. What that means is that the milk itself, the whey when it's extracted from the milk, it's processed at a low temperature so it doesn't denature or change the proteins as much as even what we get here in the States with our milk being almost all pasteurized. At those high heats, the proteins themselves are changed. And we actually, even though it might reduce the incidence of some bacteria, it really negates and changes a few of the proteins to where they're not even usable by our bodies. What the undenatured protein is it has a lot of L-cysteine in it, and cysteine is used by our bodies, our cells, to promote, it's one of the the factors it needs to make glutathione. Glutathione is an incredible antioxidant that our bodies want to make. We just don't give it enough of this precursor in order to make it. In fact, with pasteurization of milk, and this is a whole other can of worms, but just to throw it out there, with pasteurization of milk, glutathione levels in human bodies have gone down quickly. Infants tend to make a lot because, especially if they're breastfed, they get, unpasteurized milk. And those who drink unpasteurized milk have higher levels of glutathione than those of us who drink pasteurized. So that's just to throw it out there whenever you're using whey. If you can get non-denatured or undenatured, that's one more benefit that can be really helpful to an athlete. The third big thing I look for is either from an organic source or a source that just says that there's no hormones and no antibiotics used. A lot of times overseas you'll have this be just the normal case. But whenever you're buying in the States, you've really got to be careful. We don't want to see any of the growth hormones used, and we don't want to see regular use of antibiotics. Those get into our system and may, in fact, decrease our body's the effectiveness of other antibiotics we tried then to use once we are sick. Whenever you have all these floating around in our bodies because we consume them, because cows consumed them, or were injected with them, I should say, then that's a problem for us. So 3 things I'm looking for. Minimal ingredients. Number 2, un or non-denatured, and number 3, no growth hormones and no antibiotics if possible.